right? The people here are very cold. Very cold. You know, just asking people, hey, how are you doing? They just, and I'm like, Then I asked again, I was like, oh, okay. You know, some chicks I just said, hola. Here they were just like, told you guys, I asked a chick earlier, where are you from? Because she was black, you know, and I haven't seen any black people today until I saw her. So I was like, where are you from? And she's like, here. And she just rolls out. I'm like, I just notice people are cold and you have to, I notice I have to force people to talk. Like they'll try to pretend like they don't hear you, so I say, hola.
Hi guys, so Auston is in Santa Cruz, Bolivia, and either the day he arrived or the next day he arrived, he had a live, and on the live he was complaining about the Bolivian girls. He said they were rude, he said they were not sociable. He made them look like the worst women you would ever meet.
I went downstairs and I said, hey, again, like, hey, how are y'all doing? Good, is what they said. And so I'm like, oh, yeah, you know, we're new here. And I was reading their body language and they kind of looking at me like I ain't shit.
And then a few days later, he posted 2 vlogs showing the interaction he had with this Bolivian women, Bolivian girls, to prove that they were really rude. But instead, what the vlogs post is him who was rude. The way he was approaching these women was so creepy, bordering on harassment. The one that comes across as rude is not the woman, it's him. He comes across as someone who doesn't, know social norms, who doesn't understand the norms of, interacting, the social norms of interacting with, strangers. The way he was, approaching these women, the way he was talking to these women was so strange and so rude. And for him to turn around and make it look like it was the women who were rude, I'm like, no, it's you who's rude. He was talking about these 2 Asian women he interacted with at a mall. He showed a snippet in the live, and in the live he talked about how rude they were.
Now, I want y'all to pay attention to something. Look at these Asian people. So you see how whenever I wave at them, because y'all want to see me interact with people that's in the vlogs. So I'm just waving at random people. You see me wave at them. Pay attention to how they respond when I wave to them. Hola, ¿cómo estás? All I got was a fucking head nod.
But then in one of the vlogs, he posted the whole interaction. And you could see that, for one, the way the women responded was not rude at all. Because the women were coming down the escalator, and he was going up on the opposite escalator. And they were, paying attention to something, probably, checking out one of the stores from afar. And, he screamed, hola, hola, hola. And what are they supposed to do? They responded the way you would expect a normal human being would respond. Actually, one of them said hi, and I think both of them said hi.
Puma. And we got an MMG. Let's see. Hola, ¿cómo estás?
They didn't do anything rude. The one that acted in a rude and in an abnormal way is Auston, screaming "Hola, hola, hola" from the opposite escalator. If he wanted to talk to them, maybe he should go up and then come down and then politely approach them, say, disculpame or something, instead of like screaming hola, hola, hola from, the other side. So how are they being rude? Are they supposed to stop the escalator midway and then, jump to the other side of the escalator and hug him? Or what did they do that is rude? And then he was talking about these two young girls. He said they were rude or something. He thought they were so rude that he made their interaction, like he black and whited it, and then he made it the intro. Like he was so convinced that other people would also find the way the women behaved so offensive that he made the women's interaction. He blacked and whited it and then made it the highlight, made it the intro. But when you watch the whole interaction, it is him who comes across as rude.
Yeah, they look good, both of them. Hola. Comer juntos? Comer juntos?
Acabamos de llegar en Santa Cruz.
What you guys just seen was I told the girls like, hey, can we eat together? And then they just like act like I asked them, can I, like, they act like I asked them a sexual question or something. Like they were just rude as hell.
Actually, the way the two girls behaved, the way they reacted is actually the proper way to react, the proper way to behave to, when you are faced with a person like Auston, screaming come juntos at you. Let me say a little bit more on this interaction. He walked up to them and started screaming come juntos, come juntos. For them, that probably sounds gibberish because in Spanish, the j sound doesn't exist. So for them, someone walking up to them saying come juntos would sound very strange, would sound gibberish. And even if he had pronounced juntos correctly, come juntos is such a broken Spanish. It's not going to be, they're not going to understand it right away because come means he, she, usted, eat. Juntos means together. So he, she eats together doesn't make sense. Like saying, if I were to walk up to you and say, he eats together, he eats together, you are going to be confused because it doesn't make sense. So these people, these two girls, when he's screaming come juntos, the whole thing sounds gibberish. And when a stranger walks up to you and talks to you in gibberish, the proper way to respond is to the way these women did, which is ignore Auston and go about what they were doing. So the person who comes across as rude is Auston, and to be honest, watching him was embarrassing. It was so demeaning, like the way he behaved is so demeaning, and I felt embarrassed. I know I shouldn't be embarrassed because he is, if anyone other than Auston needs to be embarrassed, it is the passport boss watching him behave like a clown. Because the way he behaved is so clownish. And, he was saying something like, the women acted as if he was asking them something sexual. To be honest, it might come across as sexual because come is eat, and eating is sometimes associated with something sexual. So I wouldn't be surprised if they actually thought he was proposing something sexual, something vulgar, and if that is how they took it, and the way they responded is actually very not just proper, it is so mature. So the girls were behaving in a very mature adult way, while Auston was behaving like a clown, like a child. Anyways, what was the other thing I was gonna say? Austin actually showed interaction with other women, which for him went good, went well. So, but those interactions actually proved that this guy doesn't understand social norms, doesn't understand social cues. For example, this woman, she is on her phone, which tells you that she is not interested, in talking to other people. And if he understands, social norms and social cues, he would have left her alone. But what he does is he walks up to her, and in the rude way that he asks women question, he asks her where a shop is, and she politely answers, tells him the direction. Mind you, he already knows where whatever shop is. He's just asking her the question because he wants to talk to her.
Sí. Sí, gracias. I know where the food court is at, but we're gonna pretend like we don't know you guys, so that way you guys can see what y'all want to see.
And that is, the part that annoys me, because the woman is with two little kids. She is passing, this time is very valuable to her. And he interrupts that valuable time to ask question, that alien question, a question that the answer of to which he already knows, because he doesn't value her time. Because he doesn't value the time she is passing with these little kids. Even, the time she is, passing, doing something on her phone. So the whole thing, instead of, like the whole vlog, instead of showing that the women were rude, it shows, how rude this guy is, how rude Auston is. It actually kind of proves why, despite being good looking, I don't know if he is good looking or just intelligent, but despite being good looking and despite being well groomed, Auston had problem finding a date, finding a girlfriend in America. It's because this guy has zero social awareness. His social IQ, I hate that word, is very low. So yeah, it proves that the reason he couldn't find girls in America is not because American girls are materialistic or combative or anything else. It is because he himself is creepy. He is rude. He doesn't understand social norms and standards. What is expected of him in a certain situation? He doesn't understand that. That's why he could not find a girlfriend here in America. But you know what? Auston slandering Bolivian girls as rude, as not sociable, is something you expect from him, because I have been following Auston for more than 6 months right now, and I know that whenever he goes to a country and if the women do not make themselves available like right away, he started to slander them. He went to Zambia, and Zambian women were not, tripping all over themselves to be with him. He claimed that Zambian women were ugly.
Y'all get the whole Zambia situation. There wasn't a lot of beautiful women in Zambia like that.
He went to Ghana. Ghanaian women were not, he couldn't afford them. But instead of saying that, I am too broke to, to date in Ghana, he started to slander them. He started to call them, he actually called them rude, just like he did the Bolivian girls. He called Ghanaian women rude, and he said they are materialistic. So whenever he goes to a country and, the women are not making themselves available, right away to him, he starts to slander them. So we should not be surprised. So yeah, let me know what you think.